I think what separates a good team from a great team is, number one, you can hire a lot of people for your team, but you can't teach someone to care. You need people that care and want to do well and deliver on your vision.
Absolutely.
And I also think you need to be able to thrive in chaos. And you can interview an agent, or I can interview an operations person, and they can tell me everything I want to hear.
Right.
But until you throw them in the mix of chaos in our industry, you're never going to quite know how you're going to react, how you're going to handle it. Okay, so we are very excited to have a very special guest with us. We have Wendy Pawlak of Pawlak Properties, and very excited to have her. So I wanted to tell a quick story, because I don't even know if you know this, or I think we've talked about it before.
Oh, now I'm a little nervous.
Exactly. So how I knew you were great, right from the beginning, is we had a house that was on my block, okay, and went through multiple realtors, and it was during a very busy time in the market.
Yeah, it was a crazy time.
And I knew of you, but all of a sudden, your sign goes in, and the house was sold relatively quickly after that. I knew right then, I'm like, I need to talk to Wendy, because obviously we had something where another couple realtors struggled to get something done in a good market. So, sometimes it's personality, sometimes it's strategy, sometimes it's process. But I thought it was a great opportunity, obviously, to meet you when we met. So we've known each other a little bit. But why don't you just talk a little bit about your business, yourself, how long you've been in the business, and we'll kind of start from there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that that's a great example of one of the things that we pride ourselves on is when we go into listings, especially if they've already been on the market, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Yeah. So that's how we start that conversation with our clients is, what are we going to do different? What happened before? What worked? Where's our strategies? Because if I don't come up with something different, it's just not going to, it's the same thing over and over. So,
yeah, absolutely.
I think that that's one of the things that we really pride ourselves in. And I've been doing this for 18 years now. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. I actually, in my previous life, I was a kindergarten teacher.
Wow. I didn't even know that.
Yeah. 9 years. 9 years I taught kindergarten. I loved it. And I actually love this story because it is full circle now, because now with KW, I actually am on staff and I do a lot of training and educating. So it's just not that people just don't have parents anymore. They're not little people anymore. So it has come full circle, but life kind of got in my way. And I'm always one of those people that even though you set out to do something, if it's not working, then change it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was, we were trying for our third child. Our third child was our third and fourth child. We were expecting twins. Yeah. It was 2006. And I just was like, I literally would have 4 children under the age of 4. And I loved teaching, but it's really a stringent job. I know everyone jokes, oh, you have those summers off. Those are a hot 2 months.
Exactly.
It's pretty darn quick, you know? A nice little perk, but not, I literally had to be there at 7:30. I could not leave till 4 o'clock. I had, and this was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. I went to pick up my child, my son at the time from preschool, and they asked who I was.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, and I had 2 on the way. I was like, it just wasn't working for our family.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that because there's a ton of working parents that are teachers, and I love that, but it just wasn't for us. And so the real estate market was booming. My brand new sister-in-law was with At Properties at the time, and she's like, oh my gosh, I need help. Come help me. And the joke of the story is I was making $28,000. I had been teaching for 9 years, and I thought, wow, you can't make any less. What do I have to lose?
Yeah, exactly.
You can.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you can. Yeah.
The very first year I made $18,000.
Yeah.
Thank goodness I was not the breadwinner. Yeah. So it's like funny, not funny, but obviously the trajectory then just took off from there. And I really haven't looked back. I absolutely love it. It fills my bucket of what you put in, you get tenfold out. It helps people. Yeah. So it just kind of became a natural.
So they always say the heart of the teacher is kind of the best quality to have when you're in an industry. So how much, if anything, does having that teacher background help you each and every day? Because I mean, are there any parallels between teaching kindergartners and this business?
A little bit,
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
bit, a little
Yeah.
bit sometimes. Well, and the education piece, I think, really does hone into it because that we pride ourselves on educating, especially those buyers. Like
Yeah.
we always do a buyer consult, and that was even before you. And I'm air quoting had to.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, and
absolutely.
the industry has really changed for the better, in my opinion, with that. But we sat down and we educated, and it really helped. It helped us facilitate, and we always say we're not a door opener. If you
Yeah.
can get anyone to open the door, that's not what you're paying us for. You're paying us for our knowledge and education piece to you. And there's just so much more. Even with sellers, that education piece it's people's largest asset. It blows my mind that people don't ask more questions about
Yeah.
the realtor that they
But
choose.
do you find that your process was built around kind of education then because you
Absolutely.
have a passion for that and obviously and that allows you to have a much different approach than someone that doesn't have that background. So how much of
Absolutely.
your process have you implemented that part on the upfront?
Oh, a ton.
Yeah.
We're just so process orientated. And that was always my goal. And especially as we've built the team, I learned early on, they don't want Wendy. They
Yeah.
want the service Wendy provides.
Yeah.
So that's where those processes and education and piece comes in. And so that we can replicate that for our clients so that
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if they're working with myself or another agent on the team, they're getting that same high end, service and education that they would receive. If they
Yeah,
had.
I think our conversations have always, what we've always gone through is process, team building, all those things. So
Systematized.
systems. Yeah, we
Everything's a
always talk
system.
about systems and process. So I know you're currently at Keller Williams. You've been in the business for 18 years. How long have you been at Keller Williams?
Since 2014.
Okay, so 2014. So have you always, kind of continually changing your process and updating the process?
Oh, yeah,
And
absolutely.
I always like to unpack this a little bit because, for me, being kind of similar,
Yeah.
it feels like every day I'm changing something in the process, but it's hard sometimes because I feel like sometimes we're maybe overanalyze individual situations and make a change to a process that necessarily isn't a problem, but because in our mind we think
Yeah.
we need to make everything. So how much, do you spend a day on, working on team process? Well, then also you're a very large producer. So how do you manage all three of those things? And I know you have some help, but I know,
Yeah, I do. We do have a back end, which I think is really important. And it allows me that's the other thing early on, like I play to my strengths. I know what I'm really good at and
Yeah.
I know what I'm not good at. And I don't do the things that I'm not good at. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just and I was taught early on. And I think that's where the draw to KW was so important, kind of going back to the education piece was they're so empowering the agent and educating the agent that it's just such an important piece. And I'm literally a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
It's a blessing and a curse where you do try to, and we always say, even like when a client comes to us, if they ask us a question, we have a hole.
Yeah.
Like that
I
literally
I love that.
is
Yeah.
like we have a hole. With all due respect, the industry is not a mystery.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
happens next? Things arise out of some things, but really not that much really is unique or different. So that's actually one of our standards is if a client asks you a question, we have a hole and we need to fill it and we need to come back. Well, what could we have done? How could we have been more proactive? So you'll constantly hear us say one of our, and I know people hate the word script, but it's just, we've embedded in our language is what to expect next. So we
Yeah.
literally will not get off the phone with you without the word, what to expect next.
Yeah. Talking
is
points is something we use a lot.
Absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
you got to
This
make
is-
sure you go through this on the call and touch
Right.
these things. I like when you said if someone asks you a question, you know that something didn't happen because that's something I say all the time to my team. If they're watching this, they'll tell you this. But I always say like if someone asks us for status on a loan, we're not communicating.
Right,
yeah,
right.
we've failed.
Yes.
Or if someone
Yeah.
asks us what happens next, we failed
We
because
failed.
we should have
Right.
been discussing that
Right.
and we should have gone through our talking points. Or if someone asks us, how much do I need at closing or something like, I think the important thing about process fits into today is people hire and compensate you for your process and the value that you provide, being able to leverage your process.
Absolutely.
And I think the more you can leverage that, the better it is. So how much time have you spent, like, do you have everything broken down, like each part of the process? So if someone is brought into your team, is it really laid out to the point where you can say, this is what we do here?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And it goes from our ops team down to the agents, down to, everyone on the team understands that. And we really have even safety nets built in so that if something doesn't get done or,
Yeah.
because we are human,
Yeah. Yeah.
the agent doesn't remind, then there's always a follow-up email. So
Yeah.
yeah, I would love that phone conversation. I always tell people, call first,
Yeah.
type of thing. But if that doesn't happen, it's again, we're just all humans. Then there's always though a follow-up email that happens
Yeah.
that is triggered by another event. So it's really just important. And you had asked a little bit about our day. I mean, our morning is lead generation. That's what we do.
Yeah.
That's what we. I
wanted to get into that a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's always something that I love when I talk to you or, Mark or anybody. Like, you guys are very disciplined in how your day is kind of laid out, which to a lot of people in sales, we all think we're disciplined. I'm very disciplined, but it can get derailed in the moment's notice. Today is a good good example. But like, how do you plan out your day? How do you hold your team accountable for that? Because the thing that I always say is nobody's going to care about our business more than us. And you're getting all these other people around you to buy into the business just as much as you are bought in. And how do you accomplish that while also helping deliver all the things that you want to deliver? Because again, nobody else is always going to want to have the same passion that we have.
Right. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. So how do you?
We talk about winning the day by noon.
Yeah.
And then honestly, after that,
Yeah.
they need to be out in the field and they need to be servicing their clients. And so we protect that 2-hour block minimum of that lead generation period where you're generating the leads, you're following up, we've got a brand new client. This is a great example of moving in from Tennessee, and honestly, inventory is so low. So we need to spend time circle prospecting and dialing for asking, hey, who do you know looking to move? We know exactly what town they want to live in. We know what area. We know the subdivision so well. I know what price point fits. So we're not shooting fish in a barrel at that point.
That's really important because that's manufacturing business, but it's also manufacturing inventory.
Exactly.
And while most people will wait, I'll set you up on an MLS search, and when something comes up, I'll let you know. You're actually going out and making the phone calls and manufacturing that inventory for your client while also helping out people that you know in your database.
And it looks different with investors too.
Oh, absolutely.
So for our investor clients right now, they cannot. The likelihood of them buying a home that's hit the market is slim to none. It doesn't fit the investor portfolio. So we are going after homes that are offline, meaning off-market properties, and searching for those and having really good luck with our investors in those situations. Unfortunately, sometimes it is people going through hard situations, but they are able to sell and they just don't realize, and that investor can come in and really, I hate to say it, but save the day for them. And it becomes a win-win. But so it looks different for everybody because once that hits the MLS, honestly, for our investor people, it just, our clients, it just really
And how much is, I think a lot of people misunderstand what off-market is. Off-market to the consumer is maybe a little bit different than what we think of it as in the industry. Can you talk a little bit about what that means? Yeah,
so these off-market properties are more situational. So our slogan is actually when life changes, think of Pawlak properties. And that's the thing is, it's a lot of life-changing situations. It's in their benefit for them to sell. And sometimes, like I explained, they don't actually know that they can sell, or at that point, it kind of paralyzes and they're just not, they're waiting, waiting. So these off-market properties, the other ones are pre-foreclosures that we delve a lot into where they too, they're paralyzed by fear, but they're out there and we're able to, it does get one person out of a different situation. You know what I mean? So
and then private network, anything that comes up on there, I know that's a little bit more readily available now.
Yeah, Mark always laughs at this because I kind of, it's a double-edged sword for me.
Yeah.
Because I love private network and we have such a large network and many times we know of homes. That's what we tell people. I'm like, real estate is so hyper local. So to use an agent that's outside of their comfort zone of really, and we have a big territory, but we have limits and we know our limits. And honestly, we do that because we have standards. And to use an agent, let's even say from the city, and then they come out to the suburbs, they just don't have that network of people. We tell people all the time, well, no, it's coming for weeks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
and you also have the network of Keller Williams, your office, sharing with other realtors that I think, I think the biggest mistake that buyers make sometimes is it used to be the life cycle of a buyer is they would reach out 30, 60 days before, finding, oh, we're ready to move forward. You'd find a house, you move forward. Now those people, because of the internet, they could be searching 10 months, 12 months before they even.
I love my millennials.
Yes,
they've picked out the home, the area before they come to us. And many times it's actually swifter than you think because they've done so much research online.
But I think it's important though that even if you're not ready to look at homes, it's important still to reach out to a realtor and connect, because if you're seeing 10 homes on the MLS, or could be 20 in that same market that are available that could fit your criteria, but you're only getting a small snip of that. Exactly. Yeah.
And honestly, this is where that double-edged sword comes in, because Mark laughs that I would never sell a home off market, but there are situations that lends into, and people do. So you can't, my belief is that when you take it to market, I'm going to get you the most amount of money. I'm hard pressed to sell it. But I'm not going to lie, that's where he says, oh, you're two-faced on that, because if it's for my buyer. But there are situations that speak to that, and it makes sense for either the family or whatever the situation
is. And
is.
are you talking to a lot of your past customers in these, like, prospecting calls in the morning, or is it more?
Oh, yeah, that's where literally 75% of our business is from referrals.
See, I love that, because
those are the people that know and trust you.
Well, I think most people were always so looking everywhere else, transactionally for our business. I'm not
going to lie, though. We went down that.
Yeah,
we went down that slippery slope ourselves.
We always do.
And then we pulled ourselves back and went to reality. And when you really, and that's the beauty of the systems, is we know where all of our business is coming from.
Yeah.
We know where to put our energy. We know what fits our business best. And so then we're able to help more people by doing that and staying focused, laser focused, not going after those shiny objects and all the things.
No, and I think knowing your database, you figure all the people that your database knows. There's so many analogies and things that we hear at, seminars and everything about, but it truly is staying top of mind.
Absolutely.
That's all it is.
It is.
Whether you're, checking in and talking about what their current value is, what their kids are doing, whatever it is, it's staying top of mind. So when they are at a party and someone says, hey, I'm thinking about moving, you're the first person that, so that is, I think, more valuable than anything else.
Yeah. We tell our team to do life with people.
Yes, exactly. I love that.
And honestly, it feels so good. Like that's what we're here for.
But why do you think so many people do not follow that same, like, I'm serious, because like I don't
know.
Because it's like there's all these shiny objects where it's like the easy button, and you do that, but yet you have these people that you've done business with, your sphere of influence, all these things, and people shy away from it.
I think, not to go a little woo-woo on you, but I truly believe that the world works for us, not against us.
Yeah.
But I think that people get caught up, and I think that they get confused with that. You know what I mean? And I think that I feel like people think that they're talking about them, or I don't know, when I'm calling and I'm asking you if you know anyone doing real estate, I'm just doing my job.
Yeah.
Like, I've learned to, and we really work hard out with our team to take out the word just.
Yeah.
I'm just calling to check up. No, I'm calling to check up on you.
Yeah.
I'm calling to ask you if you know anyone.
Because you don't want it to seem like salesy.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not just doing that. I'm doing my job. This is what I was, and we kind of joked earlier, no one's born a realtor.
Yeah.
Like, and I did not come out thinking, oh my gosh, but I do have a passion for helping individuals, and it's their largest asset. I absolutely love the problem solving. Don't tell people, but when things go wrong, it actually kind of excites me.
I know. I mean, I'm the same way.
Because
like,
I do. I like to help, and I know I can.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And they're in good hands with our team.
When you've been doing something for 18 years, I've been 21 years, whatever. It's, you think you've seen everything in this business, and then the next day comes and you see something for the first time. I always say, like, you need to be able to kind of thrive in chaos a little bit.
Yeah.
And whenever we hire someone,
I wish I wasn't good at that, but I'm pretty good at it.
But it's very much what you have to do in this business. But again, it's no difference than having 30 kindergartners. You gotta thrive in that chaos. I could never do that.
And even when people are mad or something doesn't go wrong, I mean, that's kind of one of our things that we talk about is, I can't promise you everything's going to go right, but I can promise you our team is going to be with you every step of the way. And honestly, even when they're mad, they're not mad at me. Yeah. It's just a situation, Well,
I always say the worst comes out in people when they buy a home. It's not necessarily you, it's the situation, and you can't take anything personal in this business.
You can't.
And I used to take it very personal. And I always say like,
and trust me, I don't like when stuff goes wrong.
No,
like,
and
I am not happy.
I wish I didn't care as much as I do sometimes. Like I'll lay in bed at night trying to figure out how to get a loan done, or I wish I didn't care. But I think what separates a good team from a great team is, number one, you can hire a lot of people for your team, but you can't teach someone to care. You need people that care and want to do well and deliver on your vision.
Absolutely.
And I also think like you need to be able to thrive in chaos. And you can interview an agent, or I can interview an operations person, and they can tell me everything I want to hear.
Right.
But until you throw them in the mix of chaos in our industry, you're never going to quite know how you're going to react, how you're going to handle it. And there's just certain people that I think, and I think you're one of them, who kind of thrive in those moments. And it's almost where your value really comes in.
Right.
Because we've had situations on deals, and I've never once seen you like react. Like you're very calculated. I
might be reacting inside.
Well, I know, but you're in sales, but you trust the process of the solution more than you doubt that.
And I also think like we surround ourselves with people like yourselves,
Yeah.
so that I know when things don't go right, everyone it's not a blame game.
Yeah.
It's a, how do we get this fixed?
Absolutely.
How do we do best for the client in the situation to get it fixed and see
And
it
I don't
through?
know if you and others realize how important that is to the solution, because we deal with stuff every day where we don't get that same support. And the only thing that it does is it gets in the way of the solution, because now our energy is focused on handling this when really we should be focused on. And
I'm going to be honest. You know what? That came out of the 2009 crash.
Yeah.
Because when in 2009, I got in the business in 2006, and the market was booming.
Yeah.
I mean, deals were falling from the sky, but I was too new. So deals were not, I already showed you how much I made. Deals were not falling from the sky. But and then the 2009 happened. But one of the things that I really am grateful for was, if something didn't work, I was quick to change, because I wasn't embedded in, this is what I've always done. And the other thing is, when you had a deal, you saw it out to the end, because the next deal was not around the corner.
Absolutely.
It was not. You could not guarantee that. So if you had a deal, you really, and if it fell apart, it fell apart. You can't, you're only so, we're only so good.
Yeah.
And I think we're pretty darn good. But, there's only so much you can do. But I literally would see it to the end, to the point where I felt if it fell apart, I had done everything I could. And so I carry that with me today, even when things are still falling from the sky sometimes, you know what I mean? You're still seeing those deals through. We see it through. We don't just, oh, that didn't work. You know what I mean? Type of thing.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of value to take away. It's a very different market today, but going through 2008, 2010.
There was so much to learn.
There was, and it was just, from a lender standpoint, it was, I was taking calls with people losing homes, and, it was very emotional. You were probably having the same, you would go on a listing presentation, people are underwater. Then you're talking short sales, foreclosures, but it was all those conversations.
The condition of some of the homes that people left.
Yeah.
It was.
Well, we were just talking about that the other day.
Rough.
Is like people were, So,
talk about out of their minds.
Oh yeah, And so learning those conversations and kind of going through those things was a really important.
So valuable.
Oh, it's huge.
So valuable.
Yeah. So then when you see all these other things happen, obviously the market today, we had 2019. We started 2020. And I always joke back to it. We were entering 2020 very positive on the housing market.
It was strong. We were like out of the gate. Because again, talk about processes and systems. We know where we're at. Are we on track for our goal for the year?
Everyone was feeling great about the market.
Oh,
yeah. And then COVID hits.
Yep.
Okay. And we go from this standpoint of, oh my God, what's going to happen? Okay.
Yeah, we had 3 cash deals. We had 8 transactions total in escrow, 3 cash deals, and all 3 cash deals walked away from their earnest money. That never had. That just doesn't.
Yeah. I always talk about that time because, then all of a sudden, market, we realize we start navigating. And something that my last guest said, which I really loved, was acceptance. Like, we had this acceptance, like, this is what it was. This is what we need to do, and this is what we're going to do.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, we're out. I wasn't, but realtors were out, which, again, I don't think anybody gives realtors enough credit for what they did during COVID, because I almost say they were as close to an essential worker as you could get that wasn't in a hospital. Because
and I was grateful that they deemed us essential. Yeah, that would have handcuffed the entire
Absolutely, because very early on, realtors were out showing homes.
Yep.
You know,
Wearing
I remember
booties,
wearing booties. Yeah.
hand sanitizers. We
I
got it
remember having
everywhere.
closings and everyone's in a different room,
Yeah.
you know, or we were
Yeah.
closing at home or, you know, whatever it was. And it
Video
was,
walk tours. We're
Yeah.
selling homes. We
Yeah.
were
but it was
doing
all
more.
acceptance.
It
And we
was,
just kind of went with it. Rates went down and we went through this moment where we all thought we were awesome because, you know,
I know. That was,
like the
it
phone's
was
ringing.
ridiculous.
Yeah. We just thought we're
ridiculous.
like, oh my God, this is
Yeah.
like going to last forever. We got
Yeah.
3% rates. Like we're awesome. Like, and then all of a sudden the market changed, you know, 6% rates, 7% rates. And then a year ago, October, so just a year ago now, rates were 8.03%. And now here we are back at 6%. So what has it been like as a realtor, you know, so again, you're in the business, but kind of navigating that with the consumer and the people that you help.
Yeah.
How have you,
I think it goes back to education, to be honest with you.
and I always love because you have a lot of resources that you've always shared with me that you use to get education. I know you guys were doing weekly calls and
It's constantly like that. That actually keeps me in the game because between you and me, the opening the doors is not my.
Yeah.
It doesn't thrill me.
Yeah.
It really is that. It's the situational and the problem solving and being ahead of the market. And we've really prided ourselves on that is watching the market. And you need to be 2 steps ahead of the market and know. And the way that we know where the market's going is we actually look back. And so that piece actually really, that talk about the education piece. And so it's kind of funny because one of the things that became very with buying agents is what we call an escalation clause.
Yeah.
And I had been using that escalation clause 10 years prior to COVID. And then all of a sudden, everyone acted like it was new. And it was an amazing tool.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie. You know how you learned how to use it 10 years prior? Someone used it on me. And I was like,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that
Really?
was slick. Oh, that was slick.
Yeah.
And so that's where, though, we are constantly like pacing ahead with our team. Even with all these NAR changes, we're constantly like, we are not bearing our head. And like, I wonder we didn't wait till the last day to figure out what was happening. We started using those conversations, making those changes immediately, even though we didn't have to.
Well, again, that's why I love when
that's where
I always love
proactive.
calling you and getting your opinion on stuff because you
appreciate
do
that.
have a very unique way of taking an issue and immediately applying a solution.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if sometimes you realize you do that like instantly, but I always find you kind of, and I'm, you know, very similar. So that's why I'm always drawn to
you and I have always, we've always clicked.
Yeah, like I always love how you immediately have a solution. You don't focus on the problem.
No, you
it's
can't.
like put it behind you and move on. I always
back to what you can control. Like the only thing we can control is ourselves.
I always tell the story, but I think it's important because it applies to this. And I'll keep it brief. But my friend wanted to put up a fence, and we were going to go over and help him out. He was having a company do it, but he had to do some stuff beforehand. So we met over there early in the day, and they're kind of going through, and they're all like talking about every step. And I was like, I'm so used to making like 20 decisions in a minute.
Yeah.
And I had to just like, I'm like, I can't do this. Like, and you have the very same way where something happens, you immediately address it and you move on and you don't let it interfere with the other decisions because then you become paralyzed almost by all these problems and you can't really put a solution to it. So I always love how you immediately have that solution. So on that same, kind of talking point, so you have 2008, okay? So then we dealt with all that.
Yeah.
We've had COVID.
Yeah.
You're still in the business. You've successfully gone through that. Now we have NAR.
Yeah.
Okay. And
I think it's the best thing that ever could have happened to our industry.
But when I first spoke with Wendy, because I want to mention this, it wasn't like...
Wait, what did I say?
No, it was, honestly, I talked to probably 20 agents, realtors, and every single one of them, the first response was more, well, I can't believe, where yours was like, you immediately went beyond that.
Yeah.
And you went straight towards, I love it. And that's the way that's the way I am. Yeah.
I love it. I tell people, and when we have these conversations, I tell people everything has changed and nothing has changed.
Yeah.
And I love that because when all it's done is it, and I know everyone's so sick of the word transparency, but our industry needs to be transparent.
Yeah.
And one of my missions is with not only the education piece for our clients, but other agents is to level up our industry. I'm frankly sick of people thinking we're all the same.
Yeah.
We're not the same. It's crazy how in this industry you can have a track record of 1 home or 1,000 homes and you're getting paid the same.
Absolutely.
And frankly, I know that's not going to be real popular opinion with agents who are just starting out, but I don't think I should be paid the same as someone who's just starting out.
No, absolutely.
And the consumer needs to know that they have choices. With all due respect, they need to ask better questions. And we are not all the same, and we are not all going to get you the same outcome. And so one of the things I love is that this is more of what we call a skill-based market, and you need someone with skill and the education and constantly like looking forward, projecting forward, looking in our rearview mirror to see where we've come from and what can we do to make our experience better for the client so that we're winning.
Yeah.
We're not only selling their largest asset on the sales side, but as a buyer, we're getting them into the home that fits their family for, the best price at the right time. It's fitting their needs, and that's so important. So I'm not going to lie, that's kind of the part of the business that if there's anything I love.
You can tell.
I like to negotiate, but I love leading the team and being able to help the other agents really level up our game so that we stand out.
No, you can tell. I mean, it's very obvious. The word that I have been using a lot leading into today with my team, and something where we started and we brought up a lot, is education, And what I've been saying over and over is, think about all the confusion we had regarding NAR. Think about, we were confused, brokers, were confused.
And between attorneys, you and me, they're still out there confused.
Exactly. A lot of people are really confused. Yeah. Imagine where the consumer is.
Oh, right.
They're sitting at a kitchen table and they're saying, hey, I want to sell my house. Right. And they're having to wonder, well, is it going to cost me more money? So that is the opportunity.
Exactly. It is the opportunity. And the opportunity that I see is in the conversations that are now having to be had where they weren't.
Yeah,
that's the total difference, and you know what? And shame on the agents. And I don't think anyone did it maliciously.
It was just the way it was.
It's just how it was.
Yeah.
And you just get caught in that grind of this is how it is. And so but it doesn't. I always use the car seat analogy.
Yeah.
Like my mom said, "Oh, we never had you in a car seat, but now we know better."
Yeah. Well, don't you think it was the path of least resistance? So if like someone calls you and says, "Hey, I want to look at this home," you don't want to slow them down by saying, "Well, we need to meet first, and we need to have a buyer." Like they want to go see a home. So if you don't do it, someone else was. So like the path of least resistance, taking the friction out of it, we were running fast to get a contract, and then we were dealing with the consequences later.
And that's not the best for the consumer.
No.
It really isn't. It's not the best for the consumer.
I think slowing it down, is going to be a huge opportunity. I say, and this isn't my saying, but I hear it over and over again, which I love, is it's separation season. It's
I not heard that. That's good. I like that.
Yeah, it's separating the players in the industry from people who are just not going to survive.
Yeah.
And I know that's, hurtful to hear, but separation, this is going to separate people like yourself who have a value proposition.
It really is your largest asset. Like even the consumer needs to slow down themselves.
Yeah.
And not stop running just to see a house. I always tell people, you're not buying a shirt.
Yeah.
Like if you make a bad decision on a shirt, like it's okay, give it to Goodwill.
It's funny. The comment I always tell my team is, you're not buying a washer and dryer at Home Depot.
Yeah,
like you're
it's
buying,
okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that wasn't a good decision. That color's just not so great on me.
Yeah.
This is a house. This is, and the other thing that I think is really unique with our team is, yes, it's a home for your family, but we know that it is an investment in your family's future. And it's a game changer in many families. And we take that really serious, that they're truly investing in their family stability for generations to come. It's not a one and done. There's nothing better than building wealth.
What do you see coming out of this moving forward, if anything? I mean, obviously, we're all kind of working in the same environment. We have widely different strategies from brokerages. Everyone's kind of handling this a little bit different.
Yeah.
What does that look like 6 months from now, a year from now? Do you see a big change?
I think with technology, I do. I see consolidation, I think, is on the horizon. And you see it in other industries. And that's what we're talking about. Like, I love the analogy where you have to put your head down and work, but then you also have to pick your head up and make sure you're on target to where you're going. And I think that's when you look around the other industries, we see it in the medical, we see it in insurance. Everyone is consolidating. And I believe that's the technology piece.
Yeah.
At one point, and gotta love them, but those names out there that we all know, the Zillows and Realtor.coms, really felt like technology was going to take over the real estate broker themselves. And rightfully so it didn't, because the relationship is so important, but technology is definitely boosting the agent. And with that technology piece, I believe that the consolidation, you're not going to see as many middle of the roads or onesie twosie agents out there. It's really those large teams are going to take over because of the systems and the processes that are in place. And it's going to actually allow us to move at the speed that the consumer does want us to move, but in a really professional and sync way.
Do you see any difference in size of teams or teams itself in real estate versus single entity? Is there advantage one way or the other? Do you see that changing with any of the compensation models?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because the single broker will tell you, well, you just get me. I'm going to be honest, you don't want just me. Because me's really great at some things and not so great at other things. So that's that team element, is when you can surround yourself with, there's nothing better when a review comes in and it mentions one of like my ops director, Kristen, I'm beaming. Like that makes me happy. Wendy's great. I don't need, with all due respect, I always tell people, my mom thinks I'm great. I don't need to be told I'm great. But when someone talks about our team and how great the team is, that's where my pride is, because we're better together. And so I believe you're gonna really see that structure changing. And it, again, I don't believe we all should be paid the same, and it's okay. And if you don't want to pay as much, then there's people out there.
Well, that's where capitalism comes in. And I think that's the beauty of what is going to happen over the next, 2-3 years. I think it'll look a lot more uniform down the line. Absolutely. I think we're so new to the change that everyone's kind of trying to figure out. Everyone's a little bit hesitant because from a legal standpoint, they're afraid to put their name on anything. So everyone's kind of waiting to see what everyone else does. But I think there'll be a kind of more uniform down the line.
And what it comes down to is choices.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
how I know I'm never in the wrong, is if I'm giving the consumer choices. And that's what we weren't doing. We were taking the choice away. And now we lay it out. Here are your 3 choices that you have, and letting them. And then we know enough about what's going on, and that we're able to then make it work within the in the climate that it is currently right now.
How much has your process changed? So you have your buyer consultation, obviously, which is probably a little different.
Yeah, we were lucky though. We had that.
Yeah, I know you did. Yeah,
I worked with properties in the city. I would love to say that I planned this, but what I did was I worked with a lot of buyers, because they were step up. They were life-changing buyers from the city. They had already bought a $350 to $550 condo in the city. And so then their next move was out to the suburbs because they were starting their families. And so I worked with a lot of buyers, and I knew, and I hate when people say, listings to live, but because I built my business on buyers, but I had to get really good and savvy with it. And what I knew was good questioning up ahead. It saved us a lot on the back end, and it made the process so smooth. So I really carried that with. So we've just refined. We just really go, it's more of a piece of, and I guess shame on us. Like, we now ask, do you know how we get paid?
Yeah.
And that's just a conversation.
No, I mean, I think it's great. I mean, I just know our buyer consultation process, we've always kind of done it. I think it's one of the biggest advantages that we have, because we identify so many things that we wouldn't have identified if we didn't do that. Could we just take an application and send out a pre-approval? Of course we could.
Right.
But it's all the issues that happen after that, and it provides zero value to and there's no education to that.
And this is a partnership. That's how we see each other. We're in a partnership. If that client's not willing to sit down with us and run through what their vision is, and we make sure that we're looking in the right spots and really getting them a home that fits their family needs, it's not a good working partnership.
I like that you said that, because I always like to ask this question is like, do you have an ideal client, or do you have a situation where you would never you say, you know what, this just isn't a good fit for us? 18 years in the business, that's, it's great that you're able to do that, but doesn't the benefit really to help the people that do benefit from your service versus the ones that don't?
It does. And I don't think we have an ideal client per se. I think we have a client that values our service and the team and what we give. And there's nothing better than even when it's not what they would have hoped for, but you can see they're leaning in and they're listening to you.
Yeah.
And and you do, and that's where the agent's so important. We see things over, and we're good because we've been doing this for so long. I hate to say it.
Well, and that's what people are choosing to work with you for. Take the compensation out of it. They're taking, they're reaching out to you, and they're using all of the experiences you've went through, all the closings, all the problem solving, all the resources that you have. All those things are what help you get from point A to point B. If it was as easy as just placing an offer on a property and getting it accepted, we wouldn't need any of us.
It's just like that escalation
Yeah.
clause. I knew what that was. So I wasn't like, oh, what is that? Like, I was like, oh, we're going to employ this. And
Yeah.
there was, we smile. There was about a 3-month period where our buyer's agent, Maximus, we had a tally going on the wall because he was winning. He went 12 straight
That's
offers
amazing.
without a loss.
Yeah.
Like that's, and with all due respect, he just knew what was happening.
Yeah.
And we reacted quickly and we were able to get
great.
our buyers out,
great.
out there with that. But yeah, this NAR change there, I don't think it couldn't have come at a better time. And it really is. It's elevating our industry, and anything that elevates any industry is worth
I think
the
it's less about the
pause.
timing and more what comes out of it. And I think that is going to be really good for the industry. Once we get through all the noise and the media and all of that, like once you get through all that, I think the end result is actually going to be very good. I just think it's going to take us a little bit of time to look back on it and feel, you'll look at it the way you do right away. But I'm saying collectively as an industry, I think we'll look back right away. The other thing I really wanted to talk to you about is, you have a very client-centric approach, but I think you also do a very good job in your community. It's something I appreciate because I do the same. It's something we've talked about in the past, but talk a little bit about how you got into that. You do some awesome stuff at graduation. I see you in parades.
That's our favorite part of it.
Yes, yes. You have some some
we
awesome
literally
stuff.
give where we live.
Yeah,
That's the best. I mean, those are the people that are supporting our businesses to give back to them, and it really is our spirit. Like, we keep joking about this, but I wasn't born to be a realtor.
Yeah.
I was born to be on this earth to learn and grow and help as many people as humanly possible along the way. And so with the more we give, it just comes back to us tenfold. And so two things came out of COVID that I absolutely adore that we do every single year. So Donuts for Grads. We live in Lamont.
Which I love.
And so what we do is we actually put out in the Facebook page to nominate. Anyone can nominate a grad. Our graduations are always held on Friday before and their practice is in the morning. So that morning we drive around and we're up to about 350 donuts. Our local Jewel actually helps us box them. They put we give a 4-pack of donut with the year on it, and they help us do that. And then we drop off at their doorstep this box of donuts,
amazing.
just congratulating them. So
that's awesome.
It's so fun. It's
the thing that's really cool
thing.
about that is that I think a lot of people, whenever I do, we do our concerts and all this other stuff, and people always ask me, the first question they ask me is, well, what do you get out of it? What do you get referrals out of it? And I'm always like, I don't know. Like, I don't look at it.
Yeah.
And there's no way to quantify.
Right.
And you shouldn't do those things for that reason.
No, I'm not like, oh, that deal came from the donuts.
Exactly. Like, to me, I think it says a lot about your business when you're doing things in the community that you serve, because I think that you've been in the business 18 years. If you're only doing this to close deals and for commissions, you're going to be burnt out.
It would be terrible.
And you're not going to enjoy yourself. It's all these other things that you do that kind of give you the fuel, that kind of make you want to do the things that you do. Because, and I always respect when I see you guys doing that. You guys do such a great job with the parade and all these things. It's really cool that you do that in community, because it helps really show who your brand is.
Yeah,
and
it is. And who we are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because at the heart of it,
yeah,
I'm not a realtor. You know what I'm saying? That's just what I do. That's not That's not who I am. And then the other thing that that I absolutely love, and we actually have the high school now helping us because it's so large. We have the library and the high school. We do letters to Santa. So I actually grew up in Downers Grove on Gilbert.
Okay.
And there was a bank where there now is a high-rise
Did you go to
homes.
North or South?
I actually, at that time, so we literally lived on Gilbert, and you got to choose.
Yes, that was where I was.
You got to choose because we were on the border. And believe it or not, we chose South. Because at that point,
same way,
South was kind of prevailing over North, where now
I'm the same thing.
Perception definitely.
No, it's.
I'm not getting in that argument, but perception rules.
It's
If you look at test scores, there's no difference. But so I did go to South, but there was a bank, and my mom and dad would walk us down to that bank on that corner, and there was a Santa mailbox. So when COVID hit,
Oh, that's right. This is such great that you did. I love this.
I love this.
Yeah.
So when COVID hit, and I am married to the most amazing business partner and husband, Mark, and I come up with crazy ideas and he doesn't ever question. He just runs with them.
Yeah.
And I was like, Mark, when COVID happened, we were just trying to lift the spirit of the community.
Yeah.
This is, we're definitely glasses half full type of people. And we were just totally trying to lift the spirit of the community. And so what we did was we actually had a rental property that had these big awnings that we took down, those like 70s awnings.
Yeah.
We took them down and he used those and made a mailbox. Because come to find out, my first genius idea was I was going to go to the post office, but that's a federal offense.
Yeah.
They don't do that. I learned that quickly.
Yeah.
So Mark made us our very first Santa mailbox and we stuck it outside and we hand wrote letters back, because that was the one thing is you never got a letter back. So I wanted to up it, just a little bit from my childhood experience. And so again, now we last year we wrote over 425 letters with the help of the National Honor Society at Lamont High School.
That's amazing. I just love that. That's growing each year, making it better.
It is. Yeah, just doing something.
That is.
And it started with under 100 letters that first year, and it's
that's
grown.
awesome.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Those things are just embedded, and that's just who we are.
And I think that's something that shows a lot more of who you are and why people want to work with you.
It's kind of sad that I get more excited about that than selling a house.
I mean, listen, that is what makes us unique. That is what our businesses are built of. That's why people want to work with you. That's why.
And we try to watch that, you know? Like I don't think a doctor should say, "Oh, I saw a patient today," or with all due respect, it shouldn't. I don't know. When we sell a house, that's what we do, but that's not, you know what I'm saying?
No,
it's just one of those.
People are looking, I think, now for inspiration and finding ways. And I think if more people gave back to the community that they live in, it would be much better.
I hope when it's my time, no one asks me how many homes I sold, but but they look back and see how many people we helped.
No, that's amazing. So, so the only other things I wanted to have a little fun here with you.
Oh no.
I know. So I got 4 questions. Okay. So we're going to have a little fun. Okay, it's easy. Don't worry.
All right,
okay?
All right.
So if you could sell a home to any celebrity.
Oh, to any celebrity.
Any celebrity. Who would it be and why?
Celebrity.
Yeah.
You're going to laugh. I'm such a weirdo.
No, that's good. That's what that should, yeah.
No, like
whoever you're thinking, you got to say.
What?
Don't try to filter it.
But he's gone. I would have loved to sell the Prince.
There you go.
Yeah.
That would have been good. That would have been a unique house to sell. That would have been a unique.
That would not have been a normal. That would, like when people say, "I want an open concept." You and
you might have
else.
to turn that into a museum and that, because I think there's going to be a lot of purple carpet. That might be a little tough.
That would have been my. I hate to say it, but I love the house that has history and is unique.
Yeah.
That people have blended old and new together, and I think that
goes back to you liking a challenge.
I do.
And do something unique.
I know there's something beautiful in a brand new home, and everyone's attracted to it. But there's something with a story and character that I can't get away from.
So if you weren't in real estate, okay. So think about this. What career would you have pursued and not being a kindergarten teacher?
And not being, no. I would have been a wedding coordinator.
There you go.
All day.
Have you helped all your friends plan weddings, or you get way too involved?
My mom growing up, she was one of 6 children, and we always threw parties.
Yeah.
And so literally, like, I didn't realize, but she was working like a sweatshop.
Yeah.
Like I was like her peon, and when there was a party, we like had stuff to do. But I think that's kind of back to your chaos. Like I work well in that, and I just absolutely love. Again, I think it's how it makes people feel.
Yeah.
I think
it's a lot of what you do today. There's a lot of
I love that
similarities, because that's a monumental moment in their life. Buying a home is kind of that same
thing.
What do you buy 3-4 homes in your lifetime, and then you're stressed
5
out.
to 7
everyone,
if it's up to me.
Well, exactly. Yeah, 5 to 7. Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. And then there's a lot of parallels there that apply. Yeah.
I think that's, and then we still to this day love to entertain and have people in our home, and it's just I love it.
Last question is, what is your best way to kind of unwind, and what do you do outside of real estate to kind of because our job is very stressful.
It is.
Listen,
we're just on.
We're
on a lot.
I know Mark, like, he has more hobbies. Like, it makes me feel really, really, like I need to kind of pick up a hobby. I need to hang out with him more, because he, like, every time I look, I appreciate it, because he's like he's got a
doing
lot of,
something.
I really love
He's
it.
a beekeeper, so that's one thing that,
Yeah.
And I think mine kind of folds into that is I actually love to garden.
Oh, really? Okay, great. I love
But
that.
when I kind of think about it, it's kind of sad though too, because I think we are on a lot, and I love it. But I also need to decompress and take care of
That's
me.
why I
so
was like
that-
asking that question, because I think that's what makes you more valuable to the people that you serve, is you need that.
I know.
that
You
time.
and I talk about that actually. We actually don't work out of our home. Many agents, and with
Yeah.
all due respect, they run their
Yeah.
business out of their home. But my home is my home.
Yeah,
And we
yeah.
come into the office every single day, because then when I'm at the office, and that's the thing is that those are planned to we're so systematized. We come in, we do
Yeah.
our job, we work. And when I'm here to work, I'm working. And when I go, I'm done, and I go live a life worth living.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think that that's really important. I've learned though, no one likes to help me with gardening.
Yeah.
And even the kids, like they know if they get close, I ask them to do stuff. So just everyone kind of leaves me. I love to put a podcast in my ear.
Yeah.
I constantly, I'm not a huge music person. So
Yeah.
like the podcast is
I'm
constantly
the same
running
way.
in the car, in my headphones, like if I'm waiting. So when I'm gardening, I just put a really great podcast in, and I just kind of in my own
Isn't that like
thing.
Isn't that awesome when you do that
I
though?
know
Because
it.
for me, it's I like washing my car. Everyone thinks I'm crazy, but I just listen to music or a podcast, and I can just kind of.
And I love the end result too.
Yeah,
I mean, it's all
exactly.
goes back
yeah.
to those processes
I know,
and
exactly.
systems that are in place.
The one
and-
thing I've always noticed that you do, and I just think you do such a great job of it, which I don't know if you give yourself enough credit for, but you always have very good family time too, which is not easy, in our business. Because how many kids do you have?
Well, we have a blended family of
Yeah.
7. So,
So
I
that's-
have 4 and Mark has 3.
So that's
Yeah.
that's a lot.
That's a
okay?
lot of kids.
So
I know.
how do you manage that, a successful real estate career and gardening? How do you make time for everything?
Yeah, it's again, we've realized what's important. And the
Yeah.
20% truly feeds into
Yeah.
80% of our results. So we've narrowed it down. We don't have to do everything. We just need to do what matters and what we're really good at. And that's what you talked about, even the shiny objects, like not being taken away by that. We know our business comes from our sphere, then love on your sphere. Do business, do life with your sphere. Do life with your people that you love, know, and trust. And the same thing with the kids. I actually I got into the business with my sister-in-law, and her mom was an agent.
Yeah.
And the one time, and I love her. They're from Kentucky, so in her southern drawl, she said, "Oh, honey, when you have something with the kids, then you have an appointment, and it's okay. You just tell people you have an appointment. They don't need to know who it's with."
Yeah.
And I've always carried that with me, and that's so. I think that agents think that they have to be on 24/7, but you're not showing up for anyone. You're not showing up for the people that are most important to me, which are my children and my family. And you're not showing up for your clients who really do hold a place in our hearts for that. So when I create that space for those that are most important in my life, it really opens up, and it makes me show up the best that I can. So
And I think your kids seeing you run a successful business and be out there and do all these things also has a huge impact on their life.
Oh my gosh. And just to brag a little bit, I'm constantly being told what their work ethic is amazing. And that too.
Well, that comes directly from
that makes me so happy.
Yeah.
So happy. that
I'll
they
just
see
tell you
that.
my personal, my dad was always like, he would never sit still on the weekends. He was always working a lot of hours.
Yeah.
And then here I am,
Right.
the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree.
It doesn't.
So,
It doesn't.
while you're working hard, building a business, you're also teaching a lot of life lessons that, will help them really the rest of their lives.
Gosh, yeah. I learned so early on, it's not what you tell them, it's what you show them. So just show up, and good people raise good children.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I truly believe that. So
Well, you're being very modest about it, but you've done a very good job.
Thank you.
I've met some of your kids at events, and they're very polite.
Thank you.
And you always do such a great job of kind of managing
You're
all
really
those.
good at lead generation.
Well, there you
too.
go. See, so is this the ultimate plan? Is to keep kind of
I don't think so. Maximus did follow, and
Yes.
he, talk about EQ. Holy cow, that kid has really got that emotional intelligence is so high, and he's such an asset.
Yeah.
And I learned so much from him because as you get older, you get a little more jaded, and he just doesn't have that edge to him. And
Yeah.
so I really pull from that, and that's where he really, with our buyers, holy cow, he is winning.
Yeah.
Just because he's able to separate, it's not a personal thing. His job, and I love this. He says, "My job is to win you the home, and your job is to say yes or no."
Yeah. And And I think
I love that. Like,
I think
there's
having
nothing better.
I feel that way with Tom, is kind of having younger people on your team really kind of give you a different perspective.
Oh yeah,
that
and they
we,
remind you how cool you are not.
Oh, believe me, I get that all the
oh,
time.
oh,
So
yeah.
I'm going to be 50 in January, and they act like, I'm
and
gonna,
I think I'm
I know,
pretty cool. Like, I'm a pretty hip mom.
I
Like,
always
are you
I always
kidding me?
try to tell them, like, hey, do you know when I was younger, like,
That goes nowhere.
That goes
good.
nowhere.
That
There's
goes
zero,
nowhere. My kids
there's
are
zero
like,
credibility.
Mom,
Yeah,
you were like so old.
Yeah,
yeah,
I know.
Yeah, I know. But it's just, yeah.
You have a daughter in college, so have you?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. She's actually, she's a junior. She's actually a senior in college, and she's going to medical school. So I think I
That's
lost
amazing.
my.
Yeah, you think so?
I
No
think I
real
might have
estate
a
there.
one.
Yeah.
And then the twins are, one is going into culinary, which I'm a little jealous. See,
well, I
that
was
was
gonna
my
say,
wedding coordinator, culinary.
Yeah.
I'm a little jealous.
Yeah.
And then Sylvia is the other twin, and she's actually going into teaching, which
That's
I
great. Well, how
absolutely
great is
love.
that? That's wonderful.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
So maybe a future real estate agent.
Well,
then?
maybe I could like sway her this way. No, but we need good teachers.
No, we do.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. I always tell people, don't discourage. I mean, she's a straight A student.
Yeah.
And got a great head on her shoulders, and she has that passion to do that. Don't take that. We send our children to the teachers. You want people that are good.
So it's funny. Jake's school, they only have 2 guys in the whole school, and they do this thing every Wednesday where that's called Watchdogs. And it's like a dad will go and spend half the day. So they get, the kids get, and you go around the different classrooms and you do different things.
Cool.
So, I always had like, I could be a teacher. And 3 hours there, and it's like,
You're
out.
like, are you kidding me?
I'd rather deal with all this craziness.
I know.
It's just
Well, and that's my story. It's full circle. Now I'm teaching agents on how to be better agents and really and build wealth for their own families. So it's really a cool full circle.
I think that's the best thing, because no one plans to be in real estate. It's not like when you go to school, you're like, I'm going to be a realtor. No. Like we all kind of end up here.
It's an amazing vehicle, though.
Oh yeah, and
it's an amazing.
But
vehicle.
I think it's all the different backgrounds.
Right.
Like if I have someone that came from retail. I had someone that worked at on a submarine. I had someone we have all these different things, but that's what you need.
And you carry that forward.
Yeah.
That's
absolutely.
Your experience,
yeah. You need those other areas to come into our business.
Right.
And again, you don't go to school to be a realtor. You don't go to school to be a lender. Like you end up here by accident.
And when kids say they want to be, I'm like, really?
I had my cousin wanted to. He was going to come out here. Ended up getting it another thing, but he wanted to spend like almost an internship. I was like, I think you should try something else first, and if that doesn't work out, because I think people watch TV and they think they know what we do, but it's not that.
Yeah,
it's not that
and
at all.
some days are great. Like yesterday, I got a text from a family that we're closing tomorrow. They owned the home for 20 years. And I got 2 pictures, and one was from 20 years ago with their little girls on their laps, and the other, they went and had dinner at their home yesterday.
Yeah, that's amazing.
With their girls, and they took a picture. They reenacted the picture, like stuff like that. Yeah, that there are those aspects, and then there's some aspects that are they're heartbreaking. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. And but there's moments in this business that I always say, like around Christmas, like Thanksgiving, I always take a moment because I'm thinking about all the people that are in those homes that we helped, okay? Creating all these memories. You think back as a kid, all the memories that were created in the house that you grew up in. To this day, when you drive by the house, it instantly, and we help people, buy that, basically box of memories.
Right. And build wealth. There's nothing better.
Well,
wealth piece.
The money is the greatest part about it,
right.
but I feel like that experiences and all the memories and everything.
Right. To be doing those 2 things simultaneously.
If it wasn't so impactful, it would be easier for someone who's been in a house for 30 years to sell a house. Right. They don't want to sell it because they have all these memories of their kids growing up, everything else. So I don't think we give ourselves enough credit at times for what we do. And I think you have to tie it. You have to find ways to remember things like that, because this business can, it can burn you out quickly. So,
and at the end of the day, like I said, that's not what's important.
No, not at all.
It's the impact and how you made people feel. That's what's important.
Well, Wendy, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
It was very easy. I didn't really even need the notes. Like I figured I had
I'm
it here.
super shy.
Just to, But we always have these great conversations. So it's finally.
We do. I kind of feel bad sometimes when we talk. I'm like,
Yeah.
he did not want to just talk to me for
No.
20 minutes.
I love it. I love it. I need more of it. You know, there's certain people in this business that, you know, I need to talk to more because it makes me.
You know, it feels you. And,
I feel excited about the future.
and you know what I love about you that you've really done for us in our business is you challenged me.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll come to you with an idea and you'll be like, so have you thought about this? And I'm like, and then I'm a little mad at you. And then I get off the phone and I'm like, yeah. It's good though. Like that's what you need. Then that's talk about surrounding yourself. It's not only surrounding yourself to help the client, but it's surrounding yourself to make yourself and your business so that you're able to help more families. I mean, that's the end
I always
goal.
say like the more honest I can be with someone, the more I respect them.
Right.
You know, and
Well, I appreciate that because you've been pretty honest with me.
yeah, like, and I really love that feedback because I feel like I need more of that a lot of times.
Yeah.
And I feel like once you cut through all the, you know, I think the problem with sometimes with the relationship of a realtor and a lender, you're so worried about, oh my God, they're not going to send me business or I need to be this person that they want. And the moment you can just be, you know, helpful or build a business and you're not thinking about that, I think that's where it becomes more comfortable. And I feel like I've always respected my time with you because I've gotten so much more like from you than you've ever, you know, like it's nothing to do with business.
Right.
I really enjoy our conversations because I always hang up the phone and I'm always like, yes, that's what I need. Because again, we talk to a lot of people that just don't have the positivity, the mindset that you have. And it really transforms into the business that you've built. So I just really appreciate, you know, over the years.
I appreciate that. And that's always our message. I'm always like, you know, whether you use us or another agent, just make sure you're asking. It's a good fit. Make sure you're asking the right questions. Make sure you really understand what are they bringing to the table and that value is there and that it is worth what you're paying that agent, you know, with that.
And I just think, I mean, look how many realtors there are out there. Okay.
There's a lot of us.
And there's certain people in this industry that, you know, kind of separate themselves from the pack. And I think you're one of them. And I just, I'm very excited to see what, you know, in separation season.
I like that. I'm going to have to steal that one.
I've stole it. A lot of people are saying it. I think it's one of the best phrases to talk about where we're going.
And ultimately what it's helping is though, it's the client. It's really helping the consumer get what they deserve and what is important.
Yeah.
And that there's nothing else. There's nothing else.
And listen, I think the people that separate themselves are going to be able to help a lot more people. And at the end of the day, the consumer is the one that
they're going to win.
They're going to win.
Right.
And that's the best thing that's going to come out of all of this.
Even with NAR, whether you loved it, hated it, that was the point of it. Yeah. And if you're still mad, you missed it.
Well, it's kind of like,
you know,
I always say like, we have to focus on what we control.
Absolutely.
We can't control interest rates. We can't control how much inventory there is. We can't control, you know, what people think of us. We can't control NAR. Like, these are it's acceptance. Right. We got to accept it and move on. Yeah. And our actions, our mindset, how we do it. That's why I always enjoy my time with you because you've kind of just charged forward. And I mean, there's like not even a split in your mind. You probably, you know, think about it more than, but when we're talking, it's like split second, you're on to the next. Yeah. And I love that. So
yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I hope we can do it again soon.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Always good conversation.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.